Well, 18% DAU growth, still pretty good. Revenue flat year over year. Oof. Oof. Free cash flow for the whole year. Basically barely break even. I mean, at the end of the day, all that really matters is that DAU number, right? And it's just going to be trickier for them to win in a place where TikTok is eating everybody's lunch. I mean, they seem to be able to hold their own for some reason. I mean, again, when you look at these companies, you really have to make sure you don't think about your own personal experience. Your own personal experience is completely irrelevant. To never ever do that. I think people do that a lot, and it's a really stupid thing to do, in my opinion, because you think about, oh well, I like the product. The numbers tell you a much better story than what you personally think. Can you really trust yourself as the representative customer for everybody? Be very careful with how you do that. That can be very foolish. I'm not saying you can completely ignore it, that it's completely worthless, but unless you know how to interpret that really carefully, I would not try to extend your own personal findings into, what the whole company is all about. All right, so user growth is really picking up. I mean, but it's all coming from outside of the U.S. The U.S. has been stagnant for many quarters, and I imagine could start turning negative if the obvious were to continue, which is TikTok sort of continues to become powerful and useful. Let's keep looking, though. And again, if I were more interested in Snapchat, I would commission a survey of their average users, things like that. There's a lot of ways to do professional work. You don't want to just sit and think, oh, well, my friends think this or my friends think that. You want real methods, research methods. In science, methods are very, very important. In fact, methods are pretty much the only thing that matters in science when you conduct experiments. The same thing applies in finance. When you are trying to formulate a financial theory of a stock, you should have very, very good methods. Otherwise, you could be really risking missing out on something or concluding the wrong thing. Just because you don't like something doesn't mean everybody's not going to like it. You may hate Facebook. I know people who don't like Facebook. But gee, you wish you were the first investor in that company. Imagine being told that you could invest in Facebook and you say, that sounds dumb. I wouldn't like that kind of product myself. Well, it doesn't matter what you like. All right, so the gross margin actually improved pretty nicely here. AbSolera is a cool company. It's basically a pharmaceutical company. It's not a med tech company. There are fundamental ways to look at crypto. I'm just going to look at Snap for now. I appreciate all the questions. I'm taking requests from Godel customers. NNDM and Zoetis are the next two I have to look at, but I still have a backlog I have to get through. So what do you do about Snapchat? Mahalo. What do we do about Snapchat? Do they give guidance? Spotlight. Are they becoming more like a YouTube? I think they are. Right? They do a lot of like broadcasting, and it's less about person to person. I mean, I still get snaps every now and then. But again, what I get is irrelevant. They did a big push into AR, and it really didn't seem to work. No revenue guidance or EBITDA guidance. Oof. Okay. Very tricky. I'm off of house arrest. I've been off of house arrest for months. What's ridiculous? These people are so strange. Alright, cash flow was big in Q4, but it seems like Q4 is kind of a seasonal. Sales and marketing is S&M. Well, there's some losses that there's some costs you can't abstract out, like cost of goods, right? So I really like to look at the gross margin line, and they have 2.8 billion of trailing 12 months gross margin. So you do like price to gross margin, it's actually fairly cheap, but they would have to cut a lot of that R&D expense, which, I'm presuming they're investing in that stuff for a reason. So the core Snapchat business actually fairly profitable. Kind of looking at, still not like amazingly profitable. Still would be like 20 something times earnings with no growth, which is no growth and no taxes, which is not that great. And that's if that R&D line completely went away. And then if you were really aggressive and said, okay, the G&A can go away too, now you're looking at maybe 1.5 billion net of tax, which for 12 times earnings, for no growth, still not that good. I mean, would a Microsoft like to buy Snapchat or someone like that? Maybe. But it'd be more compelling if the price was lower. I do think that growth, the DAU growth, is nice to see. I'm not sure it's going to translate into much revenue growth. Obviously it hasn't. Last quarter it didn't.